All right. Hi, everyone. I guess today on the agenda, Lawrence is going to show off some of the recent stuff on Pollen, then we can discuss documentation systems for Flux. Lawrence, do you want to take it away?
Yep. I'm just going to check if I can share my screen. I think you need to make me co-host.
You should be able to now.
Yeah. Okay. Can you wait now? Wait, which screen could you see?
We saw the code.
Here's code. Okay. So I think most of you already know that I have been next to deep learning packages working on a documentation system for Julia packages called Pollen, and that is currently powering the documentation of some packages like FastAI.jl, Flux training, and others. And there's been some things that have currently been holding it back from easily deploying it for other packages, some manual effort and some important features missing. And so today I want to give an update on some of these things. So starting with my list. I'm running this locally now. You can serve it quite easily once it's set up. I'm going to show that in a second. The first thing that's new is versioning support, and this was really also for me like a main blocker of deploying this for many packages, is that you would always only have one version deployed, not an easy way to switch between them. Now not here because I'm running this locally and there aren't actually any other versions deployed, but I'm updating everything so that documents are versioned and you can switch between them here. This also includes new GitHub actions that run not just when you push to master, then this will update the dev version, right, the latest documentation, but also when you open a PR, it's going to create a documentation so you can have a preview of how your changes are going to reflect on the website. And also when you release this tagged so that you can always go back to older versions and including the stable build. I've also made it easier to set up for existing packages. So already a few months ago, I added a package template that you could use together with package templates.jl. Easy when you set up a new package, but there were some problems with adding the Pollen documentation to existing packages. So now it should be much easier. This sets up all the files, like the configuration, and then this sets up the branches, like the GitHub Pages branch, and also takes care of pushing that automatically. So you really don't need to do anything manually anymore. Okay, so we've had this better actions, then some minor front-end improvements. There's a new improved search bar. I'm going to show what the old one looked like. Was you can type in here and it shows a little pop-up and you could open it. Now actually if I click this, it's going to open the search in a new tab, and then I can this is a different package, but I can search here, and it'll also show me where in the page does this search term occur. I can open that. So for example here I see the documentation for the package index struct, and docstring is around that. You can click to the source file, so this is not new. What is new is this module info.jl package that's behind some of the refactorings in the background of Pollen. This is basically a package that gathers all kinds of data on other Julia packages. You basically index them, and then it gives you like tables of all the modules, all the source files, the different symbols that are defined. And there was a basic version of that also before, but now it's much faster. So I can index pollen, for example, and then also tell it how deep they want it to recurse into the dependencies. And then you can see it goes to 26 packages almost instantly. Let's see what happens if I recurse to, okay, so the warnings, but yeah, you get the gist. We can do the same for base, index that really quickly, and then we can, if we want to, we can do whatever we want with the tables. But the point being that pollen uses this to generate the module reference sites and all of that. Just see if we can. So, for example, we can get a table of all the functions, structs, and whatever defined in base, which apparently is 4,000. And yeah, so this can also be used for other stuff besides pollen, but is just much faster now and handles the recursive dependency checking. It also improves the automatic hyperreferencing. So that we can see here the link that's automatically resolved. It's also much improved in source files and takes now the actual bindings into account. So yeah, there's fewer mistakes with the automatic hyperreferencing. So we have improved search. Yeah, this is another maybe under the hood change. The plugins are more composable. If you don't know, unlike in Documenter where it's kind of one big blob, you define like a documentation project in Pollen with these with a list of rewriters that each do like one thing and they compose quite nicely. So these are responsible for adding pages to your website or project. So this takes all the markdown files, this takes all the source files of packages that you want to index, and then the reference pages with doc strings, also again for the packages you want to use, and so on. Yeah, I think that's all the relevant changes to Pollen. There's still a lot of cleanup I need to do, but the main things are in place. And once I get those done, I want to update the documentation of the existing packages that already use Pollen, and also see if I can get it set up for Flux and some of the other packages in the fluxml ecosystem. In parallel, actually, the authors of Markey.jl, the large plotting packages, they're actually using Pollen, trying to move away from Franklin. Actually, not using this website front end, but they're just using the Pollen document internals and project structure to export Markdown files, and then use that with Docusaurus. So this is like what they currently have. And quite happy to see this, that it works nicely. Since Pollen is kind of independent of the output format, I was not super surprised. It was built for this, but it's nice to see that this can easily be integrated with other front-end packages. Yeah.
So what front end do they use?
It's called Docusaurus. It's a classical static site generator that takes Markdown as input. So what they do is they use Pollen to generate all the pages, right? The reference pages, the Markdown, also for the code execution. Then Julius implemented a Markdown output. So they basically end up with a batch of already kind of transformed Markdown pages, and then they feed that into Docusaurus.
Nice, that's cool.
Yeah, I think that's all regarding Pollen. Are there any questions so far?
So how do you select the front end that you want to use? or is it right now defaults to what you have for like fast AI and stuff, and then there's a little bit of hacking to get the markdown output?
Right now, the default is the front end I showed you, the website. So basically, its own static site generator, or I guess it's a JavaScript front end. You can, this is kind of the boilerplate that's generated when you set up a pollen document. So there's a project.jl file where basically you configure all the rewriters, right? And some of these, this is kind of front end specific. You can, all of this is front end independent. So that's the same whether you want to output it to Docusaurus. And really the only change you need to make is in the build step. For the JavaScript front end, we export all the pages to JSON so that they can be loaded on demand. And here you would just replace this with Markdown format. And then you would get a folder structure in the same format that's pushed to a branch in your repository, but just with Markdown files. And then you can add manually another build step, maybe, if you want to build that to Docusaurus, or you could also like quite easily, I think, wrap this build in a Docusaurus builder that then calls like a Docusaurus executable or something. I'm actually not sure what Docusaurus does, but I guess it's an executable that you call.
Cool.
So you don't need to change that much, really.
So I guess, Abhirat, do you think we could try this on Metalhead?
I think so, yeah. I feel like if, especially the Docusaurus format looked pretty cool. So once stuff gets released, I think it might actually be a cleaner shift to make directly to that one.
Yeah, so there's definitely still some work that needs to be done, which I will update on once that's ready. Regarding the Docusaurus output format, I'm not working on that, so don't know when or if that's going to make it into like a clean integration into Pollen. Or I think right now GBS is more like trying it out for like market specifically.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if we use the default front end, we'll get some of the nicer things too, like the search and everything.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm also for like when I squash all the bugs and make it more stable, I also want to try adding complete compatibility with Documenter.jl, like regarding the syntax, but also make it so that you can use Pollen like on top of an existing Documenter project if you want to. So you don't need to do any kind of conversion, but it basically should work out of the box, and then you get the nice front end.
Nice.
So would that mean if we're rendering out previous versions of documentation which are written in Documenter.jl, they would automatically render into Pollen?
Exactly, that's kind of the goal. Because how like I'm not gonna make. I mean, I'm making a new documentation system, but I would kind of like I cannot expect everybody to convert all of their stuff, right? I think there's some nice things in Pollen that I think people will benefit from, but why not make it super easy to set up as an almost no effort?
Right. And then how do like doc tests and things like that play into this?
There's no doc tests currently, but given that you have access to all the pages in your project, you could write, like add a plugin somewhere here that looks for these doc test tags and runs them as tests. There's already this rewriter called execute code. This looks for code blocks marked with a cell attribute and runs them. So this will already throw errors or warnings, I think, on documentation build. So you can see when the code examples break, for example. So let's say, actually I didn't show this. So again, compared to Documenter, the nice thing is that we have live reload. So let's say I add a Julia cell here. And well, okay, we have it here. And now if I put a cell attribute on top of this and save, it's gonna execute that, mark it as an executable cell.
Nice.
And if it throws an error, let's say we take the square root of -1, then it's gonna show us an error somewhere here. Yeah, here, the warning. But if you want to make it like a formally doc tested thing where it actually runs as tests as part of your test suite, that's also possible. Just need to write a quick plugin for that.
Right. Yeah, I think, well, the only package that really makes a huge doc test right now is Flux itself.
Okay.
Which, yeah, I mean, I think it's more important that the code runs and stays up to date. And that's like the real purpose of the doc test. But so.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not, it shouldn't be a lot of effort to add that.
Okay.
Like it's, yeah. Usually the plugins are quite concise and compose nicely, so. That should be possible.
Yeah, I mean, I guess then we can, I guess, when are you planning on releasing some of these new changes?
Kind of depends on how much time I get over the next few weeks, but not much longer than that. I already, a few days ago, released module info.jl, which is a dependency. And right now I'm just fixing some stuff in the front end. Yeah, so I have like a list of things, but it's not that much. And I also want to get this done to update like the stale docs in fast.ai and be able to release the new versions there. And maybe before we get into that, is there anything that you would like out of a documentation assistant that I haven't mentioned? Something like a feature that you're missing, maybe in Documenter, but also from what I've talked about? Any pain points?
I guess Abhirath mentioned dark mode.
Right, dark mode. Yeah, that's definitely technically possible. It's more of a writing the CSS for it.
What about, I guess, theming? Do you have plans for themes with Pollen?
For what?
Themes, like documentation themes.
Oh, themes. I have not made any plans for that yet, but just as the dark theme, that would just be some front end changes, unlike how CSS is handled. But yeah, I mean, it would be possible to add, sure.
Okay. I guess you Do you have an idea of how something like multi-documenter would work here? Or I guess not specifically using multi-documenter, but if you wanted to do multiple packages.
Oh, that's super easy. So you just make a new, like a new photo, set up a doc project, and then instead of only looking to the files for one package, this here is for module info, okay? You do it for all the packages, and then in the table of contents, you just, if you want to, you can put the individual packages. So there's nothing in Pollen that assumes that you're only dealing with one package, which is the opposite of documentary, where that's assumed everywhere. And the package indexing, that's also a reason why I updated module info. It's also made so that you can index a lot of different packages, recurse to the dependencies. It's all versioned and cacheable. So there was actually one big motivation with the changes I've been making to Pollen is to make that super easy to do multi-package docs.
Yeah, and I guess
the current FastAI docs, they already include like reference pages for packages other than FastAI. So, right, like the Flux, for example, is completely indexed. Yeah, you can see all the Flux documentation and the source files, which is not showing the, it's not building the markdown files, the documentation pages.
right, you'd have to manually specify that you wanted the markdown files as well.
Yeah.
No, this is great because I mean it's much better than even multi-documenter because the front end has this nice like linking then back and forth, so you can kind of follow a thread.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, sure. One step is having a page where you can click on the different pages, but you also want to be able to link between them, right?
Right.
Yeah. So Pollen handles this quite nicely.
There's one small, if rather nitpicky point that I want to raise, which is the fact that the
Sure.
tabs don't the tabs don't have a close on top of them, which is kind of where I intuitively
Yeah.
look for a close.
Yeah.
I love the sidebar because it's kind of easy to see all the open tabs, but also when I have just two of them, my mouse instinctively moves to find that close button on either the left or the right top. So that would just be like, I'm not sure if this happens for everybody, but that's usually where I look for a close button. So
yeah, definitely. And you're not the only one who's mentioned that.
yeah.
It's on my list. Actually, what I was thinking is to make it maybe even nicer. So instead of just a close button, you may also have like a little menu so that you can click on it and then you can do extra stuff. Like, for example, you can see the source code or the source file that generates this page. Like, for example, for the README, this would link to the GitHub page, right? So that you can propose changes easily. Or you can maybe look through other versions to find like an older version of this page. Yeah, so this will go here. I'm also thinking of adding more keyboard shortcuts and explaining them somewhere. Actually, the search now has a keyboard shortcut, like Command or Control K, depending on the platform. And then you can also close it with escape. But yeah, in terms of that front-end UX, there's a lot of improvements to be made. And yes, dark theme and close button is what I've felt the most.
So yeah, I like that the search now opens in its own pane instead of being like the little drop down that it was before. So you can kind of pull up search results alongside a page that you're reading.
Right,
But I guess
figured it kind of makes use of the affordance that the multi-pane layout already has, right?
Right. I mean, I guess the only thing that so like when I have tried doing like Flux training or something, like when I'm actually working on code and I need to refer to the Flux training docs. And I go through the multi-pane to like find what I'm looking for. Sometimes after a while, it's kind of like in a browser where you have too many tabs. There's like lots of panes, and I have to go through and like close it to figure out, you know, where I came from. And then, so it maybe in the sidebar actually would be nice if it was somehow nested. Do you know what I'm saying? Like under open tabs.
Nested how?
So like here, this was all opened, you know, sequentially from going from one to the next one, right? So it would be nice if the tabs on the left-hand side showed me like the parent was module info, and then all of these, then like module, right? So then I can.
It's always supposed to be a sequence, actually. I'm not. Is this broken? No. So if I have some to the right here and I open something new here, then it should just replace everything that's not. Like it should see. So like the top one is always the parent of all of them, right? I guess.
What happens now if you
searching,
click on README, let's say?
Then it just navigates away.
Okay. Yeah, maybe that's kind of the flow that then I was thinking of it. That would be frustrating, is I'd have, let's say, a thread that's open, and then I want to open one of the pages to look at them. And so I go to click on the page to open it, but then I kind of lose the thread that I was on. So it would be nice to have like multiple routes.
Okay, I see. Yeah, so I mean, you can always, you know, open this in another tab, and at some points, you know, maybe it gets like a little bit full, because I think for many people this is already, like, having those many tabs is already more confusing because they're used to having one thing per page. Maybe you could add like like, you know, like you have these buttons here, right? You could add the button here to open it to the side.
Oh yeah.
Now you actually have the possibility of, of opening something unrelated, but this is only new because of the search. So I don't know. So now I can open a new page that's actually not a child.
Right.
But I'm not sure if you noticed, but actually now stuff is highlighted in in the pages when they're open. That's new. It was confusing before.
Yeah, no, that would definitely help. I didn't notice that, but that would definitely help a lot of knowing where you currently are.
Bold.
I mean, that's why I originally brought up this point, is because I figured with the new way the search works, it was possible to open two routes at the same time.
Yeah, that's true. I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah. I mean, that's like a more long-term, you know, feature request, I guess. Yeah, even for now, what we have is a huge improvement over the static single page.
Yeah, and I mean, I can also see that this may not be for everyone. You know, all the panes, right? So the page already works like with like a single column layout. I just need to add like a toggle here for desktop. But since it already works on mobile, I think I just click here. I haven't tested it with search, but okay, well, that doesn't work. So it already works in a single column layout. So I can click through here, and then it just has the one page, right? Because on mobile, that would just not work.
Right.
And I plan on adding a toggle. See this when you switch. I plan on adding a toggle here, like to allow you to turn off the multiple panes if you don't want that. Yeah, it should also be persisted in the cookies, so you don't have to do it every time.
Nice.
Regarding like closing lots of documents, the complete state of what you have open is always persisted in the URL. So I can copy this. It even keeps the focus. And then you can share that with somebody.
Oh, nice.
And also when I click here, oh no, I lost all of them. I didn't know that they were closing. No, you just go back. And then refocus is the one that was focused.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that would really help for like the situation that I was talking about, where you just quickly need to look at one other page and then go back to a thread.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe at some point it would be helpful to do some user testing. Sit down with the person, give them like a small task or maybe looking up some reference and then see what they do and where they get stuck.
Right.
At some point, I also want to build the complete Julia manual in Pollen. So basically the regular Julia documentation. It can be a bit hard to navigate, I thought. So I was thinking what it would look like to have that in Pollen with the fast search.
Right.
And also since this uses Documenter, I will use this as like a test case to check that the Documenter compatibility is there once I have done that.
Oh yeah, good idea.
A different idea I thought about exploring was that you don't like you have one page that's not actually statically pre-rendered, but it just accesses the page data from all of the different packages that use Pollen, and then you can search through every package, basically like Julia Hub, but Pollen, like the search.
So that would basically, where would that live?
It would be a page that has a list of packages that use Pollen. The packages that use Pollen, they store their data in a branch on the repository.
Uh-huh.
And then probably you would add like a list of packages that you want to look through right now, because you cannot load all the data and the search indices for every package.
Right.
Then I would just load on demand on the documents from here, because each page or each page that's open in a pane is just a JSON file. But yeah, not a priority right now.
Right. Cool. I guess, did anyone have more questions, comments? Yeah, I mean, I guess the only other thing on the agenda was to discuss essentially what we wanted out of a documentation system, which we touched on already, unless someone wanted to bring up something else that they just thought of. Okay. If not, thanks, Lorenz, for doing the demo.
Sure.
Yeah, it looks really cool. Can't wait to try it out on some packages. I could try it on parameter schedulers actually, because that's already written in the syntax that Pollen understands.
Right. If you want to be an early tester, I will let you know maybe 1 or 2 weeks, so you can test drive it and let me know if everything breaks.
Yeah. I mean, there's not a lot of pages to it. So I think it would be an easy one to just test drive.
Yeah, I try to make the setup experience much better as well. Hopefully that reduces like the friction.
Yeah. I guess other than that, thanks everyone else for joining. We'll meet again in 2 weeks. See everyone later.
All right. See you then.